Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Cricket Podcast. The IPL is back. A little bit of a hiatus, Azza, but it's alive and well, and hopefully we see a great conclusion to a tournament that's going to be in the UAE.
I'm really excited for this one, Nick. Honestly, when we started this podcast, this is what we were in for. IPL cricket, T20 cricket. It's the most exciting format for fantasy cricket. All our friends play. We have a private league. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. I think, fantasy cricket really is built on the success of the IPL.
Yes,
And you know, it's a great place to sort of place your wits against people, against friends, earn some money, beat your friends, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm
yep,
looking forward to it. Uh, Before we're gonna do a little preview of CSK today, and for just so the listeners know, we're gonna try to preview each team individually, sort of as a build up before the tournament starts, and then you can check back during the tournament for various episodes that we're gonna release, where we're gonna provide match analysis, points analysis. Really, these are there are tips that we're going to give you that will definitely help you. As a With that in mind, we're going to start at the top with Chennai,
yep.
with the boys in yellow, the Super Kings, as they are known as in the IPL officially. Give let's start with their best player so far in IPL 2021.
Right.
What's your feeling?
Well, it's if you look at fantasy points, by far it's been Moeen Ali. He's been their best player. It's up for debate. Moeen Ali, Faf du Plessis, Ravindra Jadeja, but Moeen Ali sort of stood out amongst these three. Jadeja, of course, had that absolutely ridiculous match, which no one could
Yeah.
have predicted someone to do well. But Moeen has been the pick of the players. But yeah, that's so far what I'm looking at, and then the three names that I said, and then we just add on Sam Curran there as well. He's been pretty good.
Yep. Yep. I can't disagree with that. I think the numbers speak for themselves. I think you know the fact that there's so many players for Chennai in 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 the amongst the top of the fantasy 11 points that we have suggests that there's a reason why they're second in the table at the moment, potentially top if they win their game in hand over the best team in the world.
Yeah, it could
So,
be. Yeah,
what?
certainly, and especially if we look at some of their big contributors, they seem to be sort of all round players, which is interesting. It's all rounders and openers who are giving you big points for CSK. So that's something to keep in mind as we go forward into the tournament.
Yeah. Um, all right, let's move on to a subject that may kill the podcast before it's even had a chance at life. We're going to talk about the worst performing players so far.
Yep.
Obviously, there is plenty left of the tournament for that to change, but my eyes cannot help but to be drawn to one name in particular.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on Mister Dhoni?
MS Dhoni. Unfortunate for him that he's not had the best start to the tournament. To be fair, he had a few good knocks where he looked more with more initiative than in the previous iteration of the tournament. He had more initiative. Behind the wicket, he's always a great wicket keeper and a great tactician, but he's just been a bit off color. Uh, is it the lack of match practice, lack of the age catching up to him? I don't know, but yeah, fantasy points wise, he's been a bit disappointing.
Yep, I think. I think that is an unfortunate
Yep,
point. I think if you're making less than three teams for a fantasy contest, I wouldn't really suggest picking MS Dhoni based on what's happened currently. You can pick him on pedigree. You can pick him on class because class is permanent. But nothing to suggest so far that he's going to be worth picking up, particularly um, because this is different.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. But the second half of the tournament's still left, and it'll be exciting to see how Dhoni progresses.
Yeah, and on the progression of Dhoni, um, let's move on to sort of the third header, so to speak. And we've had previous with this tournament in the UAE last year. How's Dhoni performed? Did he perform decently last year? And using that as a little segue,
Right,
who do you think? I mean, who performed best last year? Let's keep it as simple
right.
as that. Who was Chennai's best performer last year in the UAE?
Right. So to answer your first question, let's just say Chennai last year, IPL 2020, they played about 20 players, and MS comes sort of dead in the middle of the pack. He's about eighth or ninth. You wouldn't expect that from a player of MS's caliber. The top performing players, the two players that really stand out there in the UAE were Sam Curran and Faf du Plessis. Now, Faf especially looked an imperious touch. He was one of the few batsmen who really did fire in that tournament last year. And then Sam Curran, when he comes for the IPL, he turns up every time, doesn't he?
Yep, yep,
So it was those two far ahead of anyone else in that team. Jaddu had a good season, but a little bit off. And then there was no Raina. They didn't have Moeen Ali back then, so that was it. It was just pretty much these two guys.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's a
yeah,
very fair assessment. Let's round up our Chennai discussion then
yeah.
on who you think, what your prediction is as to who the best player in terms of fantasy points is going to be
Right.
for let's say the second half of this tournament.
So look, we do have match-wise episodes coming up where we will be looking at predicted point system as we have been doing for the test series. So we're going to get into all of that, but at the moment we're just looking at a few players. Players are going to give you about 80 to 100 points a match with a fairly high degree of probability. You're looking at Fast, Jadeja, Sam Curran, Moeen Ali. These are sort of the big guys. And then, of course, the CSK team, you can have players who are going to give you like the 50 to 80 points range. Someone like Deepak Chahar, Rituraj Gaikwad. Now, these guys also will turn up. And so that's really who we're looking at. But really, the player to watch, it's got to be Moeen Ali. He was in impeccable form in the 100, and I think he's
Yeah,
just going to carry that forward.
I think so too. I mean, I've been watching him a lot this summer. Obviously, being an England fan,
Yep,
and I think um, I agree. I think big things from Moeen Ali. I think he gets you wickets. The UAE is going to turn a bit. He can smack the ball a mile, and you know I think a lot of these England internationals who played in the Test series are going to come into the IPL with a point to prove,
yep,
and so yeah, that's that. I think we're going to wrap up this discussion on Chennai, and we'll we'll move forward to the next teams as the week progresses. So please tune in,
yep.
listen to all the team previews. They could really help you, and let us know what you think in the comment section or by email. Reach out to us on all our links.
Yep.
Cheers, Azza.
Cheers, Nick.